Welcome to another episode of Pals in the Blender. It's your boy A. Davis. I got the man in the building, Coach Sip. Coach
What
Sip, how
up,
you
what up?
doing today? Hold on, where we at? Where we at? Hold on, here we go. Wait. Hey, there you go. Look, little upgrade, little mini upgrade. Appreciate
Proceed.
you stepping in, man. Appreciate you joining us, blessing us with your basketball knowledge and wisdom. Always been like the last time we had you on the show was over the summer. We had some great breakdowns and stuff like that. So again, welcome, man. Welcome back to the show.
Man, thanks for having me. It's good to be back talking hoops. Like you said, I hadn't did this since the summertime.
Man.
My
Well,
job work nights, so I'll be watching the Pels from NBA League Pass on my phone. Job,
ooh,
yeah, gotta
listen,
get it
you at
in.
the job. You at the job while you at the job going through that stress.
Yeah,
So
man, when
we
it's quiet,
actually,
I'm watching hoops. So,
we actually was just talking about what it's like to like how it is for different people to be able to take in what's happening right now. I go and give you how I'm internalizing it. So personally, for me, it's really tough because I came in very optimistic. Obviously, I was talking about we gonna get 49, possibly 50
hmm
wins, and talking
oh yeah,
crazy. ESP,
a lot of
not the OEM.
we saw Zion healthy. We were like, man, this man finally healthy. He looked good. At least pictures showed that he looked good. And
Yeah,
preseason videos. He had a full preseason training camp. We had every reason to be optimistic. The only person we was missing was Dejounte. Trey was
absolutely.
back, Herb was healthy. They cleared them two guys, so your core pieces was back. The only really complaint was the trade to get DQ. That was the only thing that
Hmm.
people was complaining about. But other than that, as far as what we got coming back, we had reason to be a little optimistic. Hell, the
Exactly.
national media was optimistic.
Yeah. The last time you saw the collection of talent healthy, right? They did win the 49 games, made the play. Yeah,
Yep.
and then you had the injury filled season and everything. So you think, okay, we swap out CJ for Poole, we move on from BI and we get Trey into the position
Yep.
that everybody is saying,
Yep.
would be better for the team, and we get this.
Yep.
So what do you think, aside from the injuries, but like what do you think is the reason and we getting all of this right now, to be honest?
Um, so I
Aside
know
from hold on, wait, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. My thing, everybody, the coach stuff
everybody's
is
coaching.
yeah,
Everybody's coaching. And
everybody's
it's warranted. It's warranted. It's warranted, man. And I do think a change is on the horizon. And to be honest with you, if you was gonna do it, you should have did it a long time ago.
I agree.
I read something read a tweet from Schmidt, and he made a hell of a point. He's like we the only organization that won't announce our head coach during the intro because he's getting booed. Like that's
Absolutely.
embarrassing. That's embarrassing for coach first and foremost, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the staff for to not get introduced for that reason. That don't tell you that like people are finally over it. And more importantly though, they still showing up. Whether they showing up to root for the Pels or showing up to boo, you still got people that's showing up. And the fact that you kind of hide your head coach from the bright
Mm-hmm.
lights shows you that that's a decision that probably should have been made a long time ago, for better or for worse. But aside from that, I think you still got Poole, Queen, Looney, um, Fears. You still got some of your
Mm-hmm.
rotational guys um, playing meaningful minutes together for the first time. Obviously, the preseason and training camp can prepare you for what's going on now. Even though you
Yeah,
say we're only 8 to 10 games to the season, everything's kind of vanilla, but you mixing in two young boys with a bunch of vets and a vet and Poole, who played his kind of way somewhere else. A guy in
mm-hmm.
Looney who was I guess kind of treated as a castaway from Golden State. They
Yeah,
probably
I
thought
think so.
he needed a new change. So on top of Trey missing a good amount of probably his offseason with that shoulder injury, um, and Herb missing time too. So
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of chalk it up to chemistry. You can definitely chalk it up to a bit of a slow start from Trey. because again, while a lot of people soured on BI for whatever reason, he was still, he's still one of the premier wing scorers in the league.
Yeah.
Even though his 3-point volume wasn't what we would have wanted it to be, he's still a 3-level scorer. To be honest with you,
Absolutely. He still
you
had
got
grab.
you got a guy like Trey who, while he was working on his ISO game and adding stuff to that part of his toolbox for the better part of 2 seasons, well, prior to last season when he kind of showed everybody what he could be on the back end of the season, he was a spot up guy. Limited movement. Spot up, catch and shoot, stretching the defense. He's not a crazy movement shooter like Hawkins. Speaking of movement, Hawkins, he hasn't taken that leap forward. So I think it's just a mirror. You thought Trey was gonna get off to a bit of a better start, maybe the first 5 games, and it wasn't like that. I think defensively though is where we took the biggest step back. And I don't think people realize how important Najee was, how important even JP was on the defensive glass. For everybody, fussed about him. He was good on the defensive glass. How important Dyson was, even through his lack, his lack of offense. We're missing some really good defensive pieces that we used to sit next to her. Now you're asking Trey to be one of your premier defenders, and that's not what he was historically for this franchise. You're starting a rookie in Jeremiah Fears, who at the end of the day, he's still got to get and he's guarding probably the toughest position to play in the NBA, which is he got to go get De'Aaron Fox. He got Ja whenever Ja gets himself right. Well, he got crazy point guards to have to deal with in the division alone. Never mind, what you'll see when you're outside of the division. So, and then when Queen comes in, he's still figuring out defense. Carlos finally getting some minutes in the rotation. He's still trying to figure out some defense. I think that part of the Pelicans' identity, you talk about identity, under Willie Green, defense was the identity. That has taken a big step backwards. And you used to be able to lean on your defense when offense was tough for you. Lean on defense and offense is a bit of a struggle. Yeah, you're gonna be losing by 30 points on average sometimes.
Absolutely not 30 points on average. So like I guess one of the main questions, I guess, as far as like the slow start, because it could be attributed to a couple different things. It could be attributed to, like you said, the lack of chemistry and guys working their way back, trying to work in new pieces. It could be you lost some of the defensive pieces that you had when you were your most successful at trying to fill those in. It could also be as simple as the year when you had the most successful season, which was the 49-win season, is different when you have BI and you bring Trey off the bench, or because you still have the talent that's coming in as another player, as opposed to you subtract BI and realistically you didn't get anything to replace BI. Or if you do say
you get it in the numbers, like Trey's numbers. Somebody tweeted out, I want to say it was Grub, maybe. I think he tweeted out Trey's numbers. Well, Trey's numbers aren't bad when you look at
my thing is, but you don't get nobody to replace Trey. Like, even if Trey replaces BI, you don't have the follow-up person.
You have that off the bench. Punch off
exactly.
The bench. So that means you got to do a good job of staggering some of those productive offensive guys. When you bring in Hawk, because you don't know what you're gonna get from him. When you bring in Carlo, you don't know what you're gonna get from him. And we haven't seen Missy in a couple games either. He's been out. So, again, injury. And we haven't even seen if Missy has taken his proverbial leap from last year to this year.
I think right now, Missy getting like healthy DNPs seem like.
Healthy DNPs, man. Look, if that's been the story of the Pelicans the past 5 years, healthy DNPs, boy, all over the place. But and to your point about replacing BI with Trey, not only are you taking production off the bench, with Trey now, you were from getting everybody's bench defender to now you're 1A or 1B in the scouting report. So you're being defended. Like, if you watch Trey when he's trying to move off the ball, they are attached to him and they are physical with him. Especially when he's going into those DHO actions with Queen, because they know Queen can pass it and they know Trey likes to come off those handoffs. they are attached to that dude, man. So he's being guarded by everybody's first or second best perimeter defender. So
Mhm.
he's got to get adjusted. He's got to get adjusted to being one of the highlighted guys on the scout report, and understanding that like they're not leaving you as much as they was when you got Bi and Zion on the floor
Mm.
together, and you're the third or fourth option or whatever the case may be. Like now, you're option number one with Zion out, bro. So you getting bodies on you at the point of attack, and then when you got the ball on the wing, no matter what action, whether it's ISO or ball screen, you're seeing bodies in your window. And
Mhm.
what people don't understand is, again, while Bi he we didn't like the efficiency or lack thereof from three. He knew how to operate in some of those spaces when he's seeing multiple bodies.
Mhm.
Especially when he's going to get to his mid range. So that's just something now that Trey's got to try to figure out going forward. Is as long as Zion's out, when you want to go ISO ball, you got to learn how, like, you're not just attacking your own point, your own ball defender. You're attacking like if they playing boxes and elbows, or
Mhm.
if you got two or three other guys sitting on your right and left side to get you away from the rim or to knock you out your rhythm. On top of the physicality when you're off the basketball, he's got a lot to deal with. So that might have been contributing to his kind of a slow start, if you will.
Mm. Let me ask you a couple questions about that because to this comment, appreciate y'all for tapping in. It said wish we had a coach that played or that would scheme to our players' strengths, and we're talking about how Trey is struggling with some of the adjustments. Last season, you saw Trey do a better job at least. And now, granted, we had nobody, there was no expectations of winning and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
again, you saw the one Trey has been looking a little bit better, but still hadn't played at the level we saw last year. What do you attribute to Trey, this year compared to when we saw him kind of rolling when he came back last year? Is it just starting the season? Is it the fact that, you know, he is getting adjusted to being essentially the number one right now, because he had to deal with some of that last year, and we thought, hey, you would be more prepared because you did face that when everybody was hurt last season. What do you think the main difference is with
I,
that?
I think you hit it right on the head. To be honest with you, he came into the season. A lot of people placed all-star expectations on him. Again, local media, and I don't want to say I guess you could say national media, because people between kind of what he
Mm-hmm.
did at All Star, he was like a correspondent. He was on the JJ Redick podcast. He was kind of doing like a ESPN. He had his own
He's
little press run.
he's a very visible player, very visible.
Yeah, so not only people were saying like, damn, he can shoot. He's playing well for the Pelicans right now, and now he's marketing himself a little bit like he's got the personality to match. You finished the season like that. Do you coming into this season like that? People know who you are now. So now you've got to deal with, again, being that dude in the scout report. It's a lot to be said about that too, man. I can just tell you from experience, you can do a scout report for a team, and yeah, we're gonna focus on these 8 guys, but at the end of the day, we worry about number one and number two. Period. Let's show
Mm-hmm.
off their water, and we'll let number 3, 4, 5 beat us. That's all. Let's let them beat us. Let's not let number one and number two beat us. And in the
Mm-hmm.
league, like you said, is way different, because number one and number two are good enough to get theirs regardless.
Yeah.
So because there's just that level of talent, and I mean offensive talent. So we're seeing that it's way different when you're scoring these buckets on the back end of a season where it's no expectations, and now you enter the season with expectations.
And nobody worrying about you as a team. Like, y'all, you're not really like,
Yeah,
people just
I
can
am
roll
playing
out
like,
and just beat you.
yeah, absolutely. They know CJ is going to be traded. They know Bi is going to be traded. You're not playing for anything. You basically an easy win on the schedule. And that's not to say those teams weren't going to play hard, but they were like, let's just get this game over with ASAP and rest
Yeah.
our guys.
Yeah.
And then now you seeing. I was watching when I was watching the Hornets game, and just watching how Kneppel moves off the ball, and then I was watching how Trey moves off the ball, and just the level of, for lack of a better term, force,
Yeah.
kind of energy. Like, you could just kind of tell at times what Trey's like. kind of like instead of being assertive in his movements, he's letting these defenders hit him first. Because I still don't know that he realizes like, nah, bro, they're not letting you catch the rock. They want everybody else to do something, not you. So that means that you got to hit first and get away from them. And I still think that that's some of the adjustment that's being made. And again, on top of playing two rookies, and playing Carlo, who's a rotational guy, also with Missy being out, you just got some new pieces, some young pieces, and then the kind of the lame duck that's sitting in the big seat.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the I keep saying low hanging fruit, but it is what it is though. And I do think that that's playing a big part in the overall tenor of the team, the attitude of the team. Those guys are trying to play through some of that noise, but at the end of the day, you just can't. Once you get down 10-20, 10 to 15 and turn to 30 real quick, because they like, well, look at the sideline full of motivation. And when they look at the sideline, there is none.
Yeah. I think they're playing like extremely, extremely hopeless. Like you can see sometimes the personal pride kicks in, right?
Yep.
Because as a player, you come out, you're like, man, we gonna put it to the side, we're gonna do whatever we gotta do. But when you're going in, you know, a man down, like you're out some of your best players, because a lot of people talk, man, listen, a lot of people talk about Z. A lot of people talk about Z and wanting to get rid of him. But bruh, you just can't replicate what it is he does and like how free he allows the team to be and stuff like you just, I mean, I just think it's one of those things where we kind of, if he's gone or if he's moved, it's gonna be a very significant decline.
It's gonna be that anyway. I mean, if he's moving, it'll be a decline. But if he's not playing, it's an active decline because you're constantly looking at somebody who you know what he brings, you know the kind of fear he puts in defenses, but he's in street clothes. And a lot of people who want him moved between seeing the promise of the young boys and just like not wanting to deal with the DMPs from him, that's really what it is.
So let me ask this, because this is a good point when we talk about like some of the struggles of the offense for players like Trey and a lot of the frustrations. Because like I said, I think they're playing hopeless because I feel like they're not getting any real assistance from that position, right? From the coaching. How do you feel as a player when you are struggling or you're trying to find your rhythm and you may not get a play call for you, or you get it going, you finally do have your rhythm, you're doing some things and you have like the extended breaks? How does that type of stuff affect like the player?
I can't tell you how it affects how it affects the player from plays being called, but I can tell you as a complimentary player, you're like, why the hell are we taking him out the game mode? No, like keep feeding him. Like,
right.
Let's go set screens for him. Let's make sure he gets the rock. He just scored 10, 12 points in a row. And if the players on the floor are feeling it, then clearly everybody in the bleachers are feeling it as well. And you open yourself up to the criticism of like, if this man just scored 10 in a row, why would you either A, not give him the rock, or B, take him out the game? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating, you know, because I've had instances like that as a coach, as an assistant, where for whatever reason, you know, whether it's like, oh, he looks tired, and I'm like, nah, coach, he don't look tired. He's just fine. You know, we got free throws coming up. Call a quick timeout. Whatever you do, don't take him off the floor. If you got to take a quick 30 to let him breathe, do that. But don't take him off the floor right now. And that has happened during my time coaching as an assistant, and it's extremely frustrating because, you know, you're talking about somebody who can, if you're down 8, can put you up 2, or if you're up 2, can put you up 12. And the players on the floor understand that you do that type of stuff, and it not only does it frustrate the player who's coming out, it frustrates the group because now you start like, this man is helping us win. This man is helping us stay in the game or extend the lead, and you've taken our best chance of winning and competing off the floor for whatever reason.
And
the only reason
people have to play out of their roles.
Yeah. And again, you're asking guys to I mean, and you do have the next man up mentality, but it is what it is. Like, You can't. If Zion goes and gets 24 points in a row, you know there's nobody else who can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep Zion in the game until he tells you I need a break. When he tells you I need a break, or he takes a couple bad shots in a row, or he just it's visibly bad, then you take him out. But if he don't tell you I need a break, don't take him out the game.
Do you think and this is just me like thinking about it, you know, you're a coach and stuff like that. Like, do you think the coaching staff has, like, not Willie Green himself, the coaching staff as a whole, as a unit, when they're making some of their rotations? Because one of the big things, and the reason I'm asking this is to kind of lead into the next question of how do we fix the problems of what's going on. But like, do you think when a coaching staff going back and they're reviewing the film, right? I know they're reviewing the tape and they're seeing this player just scored 10 in a row, or this player was very impactful and we sat him down and it's like, man, we kept him out until X amount of minutes into the next quarter. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that you're watching film and not watching these things. Why do you think they either haven't or won't address those situations? If it's something that's clearly impacting the winning.
That's a good question, and like I do know that certain front offices do influence or make suggestions on playing guys certain minutes and playing guys at certain spots, and we have a new Joe Dumars and Weaver are new to the front office, and Queen and Fields are their guys, so some front offices want to make sure that their guys that they drafted get minutes and show everybody like, hey, we drafted those guys. That's their pass on the back, if you will. And they used to, like, if let's just say, for instance, Jose gets 10 in a row, and you take Jose out, like, he gave us what we needed, he gave us the spark, take him out, and in his normal rotation pattern. And if he doesn't go back in, you're like, oh damn, well, I forgot that you was on the bench, come on back in. But you don't do that with a top 2 or 3 guy. You don't do that with a Trey. You don't do that with a Zion. You don't do that with a guy that you know can blow the lid off the game. And to answer your question, I don't think that's a film study. That's not a film study thing. Okay. That's an in-game feel thing. That's like, even if you're alpha, you're 2 alphas, you're 2 guys who are elite offensive talents, you can take those dudes out after they score 10 or 12 points. Just think about it like this. Hey, Al, say SGA may go score 12, 14 points in a row, right? Yeah. They go TV timeout. TV timeouts are 3 minutes, 5 minutes in real time, however long it is. SGA, he's still sitting on the bench. So essentially that's almost like a substitution.
Absolutely.
But to an elite level talent like SGA, that break won't break his rhythm. He'll come back and get right back to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you're not going to, even though it was an extended period, you still have times where your top level guys will score all of those points for whatever reason as a break in action. He comes back and gets right back to it. So if you have a coach that sees him, scores this, and takes him out, and then sits in, like, to hell with the rotation pattern, to hell with all of this medical staff and having to sit him at this point in the game. Like, no, he just scored 15 in a row. I'm saying you stay out there, period.
Yeah.
Until I see that you are visibly spent and you cannot do anything else, or you look at me and be like, yo, I need a break. That's when you're coming out. And because Chris Finch, if Ant Edwards is scoring 15, if he's on a crazy scoring run, Chris Finch is not saying, hey, we got to take Ant out at the 8-minute mark for his typical rotation. Like, Chris is like, nah, bro, you got to get it in.
And I imagine that's what, like, off seasons are for. That's what their training is for. You know what I mean?
Ant's not gonna get a full if Ant played heavy minutes one night. If they don't have the day off the next day, and let's just say they practice, Ant's not gonna practice. They're gonna give him his break and practice. We've done it at the college level. We've had guys where we tell the training staff, don't tape him. They're like, well, why? Because he played 38 out of 40 minutes last night in the college basketball game. He scored 32 points and had 15 rebounds. If he does anything on the floor, it's going to be form shoot. He's not practicing today. That's just, we play Thursday, Saturday. Thursday, he play heavy minutes. We have a travel day if we play at home, home Thursday, home Saturday. Friday, we telling him go get treatment while we're on the floor. You up there stretching. You come get some free throws or some foam shots up, and that's it. Period. And because we know we got you from you on Thursday, and we know we're gonna get from you on Saturday. So to your like, no, you're gonna play, and we'll give you the day off the next day because you earned that day off and you contributed to winning.
I completely agree. My thoughts on like the coaching, and you mentioned it like for SGA. I think about this all the time when you see these players sit for extended minutes. I consider like when you're coaching a game, it's like stealing minutes. Like a TV timeout is about to come, right? So you can, if you're gonna sub them out and get them rest, you can take them out a little bit right before a TV timeout because you got the TV timeout. Then you come back, so you get a little bit more time. The problem that I have is when they sit them, they'll sit them. You'll get them. They'll be in a rhythm. They'll sit them for the rhythm. Then they get the TV timeout. Then they sit for the rest of the quarter. Then they get the change in quarters. You know what I mean? And then like the commercial breaks. Like you got to think of the commercial breaks in between. All of that stuff going on where you might sit for. It might seem like 5 minutes of game time, or sometimes it's 8 minutes of game time for some players. That's like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, sitting down.
Sitting down.
Yeah, absolutely. And with I don't want to, like I said, I know politics comes into play with a lot of these decisions. I saw it when my uncle coached in the G League, and he was a head coach, and he used to say like, Mike, man, I want to play him X amount of minutes, but the GM's coming to the game, and he's like, we only want to play him this many minutes. Or we're expecting these guys at practice because we got a big game, playoff stretch coming, and they're like, well, he's not playing. He'll be at practice, but he's not going to be playing because they may call him up. So I do know that, again, some front offices do meddle in coach staff decisions as far as the roster goes. But these dudes are young, man. These dudes, and maybe SGA wasn't the best example because they got a ridiculous, they got a crazy roster. So you don't even have J-Dub playing right now, and New York, they don't miss a beat. But those dudes are young, man, and what you also, next time you watch the game, pay attention if the cameras catch it. It's some of these little micro conversations. When a guy goes a crazy scoring run, and during the free throw, perhaps, he'll call it out like, say, "Al, you good? You need a break?" And then you may look at me like, "Hell no, I just scored 20 in a row. I'm not coming out." And I'm like, "All right, cool, just making sure. Carry on." Like, do they have those little micro conversations when there's a break in action, or is it just giving out orders? All of that stuff. All that stuff matters because you don't want to just look to the bench and be like, "Nah, I'm good." But every night you got to call them and check the temperature of these players. And like that's what determines minutes anyway. If Zion said, well, like medical staff says, well, we only want him playing in 5-minute increments or whatever. Nah, man, that dude's a max contract player. If he wanted to play more than 5 minutes, he'd have a closed door meeting with Joe, with Troy, with Willie and the staff, and the medical staff, and say like, "Nah, we got to up this." Period. Yeah, and then Willie can determine that throughout the course of the game.
I agree. I personally think, this is just my opinion. I personally think that a lot of the injuries are due to one, Zion having an injury history. But if you look at our team, a lot of players get injured when they come here. I think a lot of that is sub pattern, right? Because if I get going, like a lot of athletes, high turning athletes, bro, when I get my second wind going, it's hard to like sit down for an extended period and then ramp that thing back up and then sit down and then ramp that thing back up. Like I don't know if that's crazy or not, but I think that's a part of why when you see Zion, for example, who the body type, the style, the explosiveness, if he gets going, right, and you could tell and it's just to use Zion as an example, but a lot of players are like this. Like Ant's another one like that too, because you used Ant early. But like when they get going, it's like, okay, they kind of, it's like it's truck rolling downhill. You can't stop him in that way.
Yeah.
But you can absolutely put a break in. Like Ant dealt with a hamstring injury early in the season as well. And I mean, maybe it was different because Ant was playing 38, 40 minutes to
Yeah.
start the season. I just
And
think the Zion,
you got to save him from himself. He
yeah,
won't ever.
yeah, yeah.
You got to save him from himself.
Yeah, so I think it's a little different with Ant necessarily, but I think Z, if I'm playing 7 minutes and then I'm sitting for 5 minutes and then I gotta go another 4, like I just think the start and stop in his
It's
body
also
is
on
not
Z
great.
to do what he needs to do. If you Al, if you know you're like that, if you know your body and you know your body can't sit for extended periods of time, whether it's
Gotta
because
go get on the
foul
bike.
trouble or you don't trust the staff is just kind of like mismanaging your minutes, then like you go get on the bike. If because chances are somebody on the staff, if not the head coach himself, somebody on the bench is probably queuing up a guy like Z, you about to go in, at this minute mark, the 7:45 minute mark. Well, if there's 9 minutes on the clock, then Z needs to go get on the bike. If there's
That's true.
8:45, he can get on the bike and start. If he knows his body's like that, nobody knows his body better than him anyway.
Yeah,
So, if you know, or let's just say he comes back from the hamstring and he knows that because of the injury, he can't sit for prolonged minutes of time. He can't play past a certain limit, but he also can't sit. Where at some point when you're sitting on the bench dissecting the action, go get your hamstring warm back up. Don't just like sit, let it get cold, knowing
that's a
that you got
great point.
tissue problems, and then get on the bench and then play normal. Because first of all,
Yeah,
he's not going to go and play his normal Z out the gate. He's probably going to go and jog up and down the court a few times to get the hamstring loose. Well, when you could have been
absolutely.
doing that on the bike or with the jump rope before he goes into the game. Now he can ramp. He don't need any kind of up and down ramp up time. He's already in there. He's ready to roll. And that's not just for him. That's just for some guys' bodies are just wired differently like that. I used to get on the bike if I knew I was gonna sit for a minute and I was going like after the 4 minute time I would sit, you're going back in the game. Go get a quick stretch in. Go to the end of
That's
the
a
bench.
great, yeah.
Get the jump rope, run in place, do something if you know that your body your body needs that time to ramp up. So you're not wasting possessions on the floor because you are tight because you sat too long.
That's a great point. I go to a lot of games and when I think about it, because part of me thinks that like, hey, they absolutely need to do something because I think the start and stop, but I never see any player like on the bike or on the stretch or anything like that.
Well,
And
they get to the scores table, and even if they get to the scores table and they do something, as they
it's
taking
too,
out their stuff, and there's gonna be some up and downs. They're not.
yeah,
Some of them sit on their butt and they stretch. Some of them stand up and some of them do something. Like, but look at Zion next. Well, if he plays in time soon, and see what he's doing on the bench. Maybe on the back end of his stretch sitting. If
yeah.
he gets up early enough and starts getting himself loose, then when he gets in there, he can just be full go.
I'm gonna be at the game tonight. I'm actually gonna check that out with all of the players, to be honest, because I think that's something that all of them should do.
Jose don't need to do that. Jose's wired different.
He's small, yeah,
Jeremiah
ready to go.
wired different. But if you know your body is wired like that, then you got to be preventative in some of that type of stuff. You can't just have a medical guy say, "Hey Z, let's go up. You're gonna be going in the game in the next 2 minutes. Let's get you loose." This should be like, yo, let me go get myself right so I can get in the game and not miss a beat.
I agree with that. Let me ask you this, because this is another good comment that I was thinking about. I was like, so everybody, and we'll transition into the rookies, but before we go to the rookies, I kind of want to talk about the Willikins. That's funny. I kind of want to talk about, like, before we go into the rookies per se, the 5 rotation specifically, because when we sign the 4 or 5 rotation, they don't have necessarily be the 5 specifically, but when we signed Kevon Looney, we all thought Kevon could be a help, could be an asset to the team, but that don't necessarily mean that he needed to start or he needed to play extended minutes, especially when you saw Carlo on the floor running, looking athletic, like, really expanding what the team looked like, playing the way we thought he wanted him to look. So regarding this comment, how do you feel about when you look at the rotations, Queen and Carlo playing less than Looney because of who knows whatever the reason is? But what do you think about that?
I'm not gonna call it malpractice like the rest of the 12, but I am
Yeah.
gonna say that that is relatively annoying because essentially this is I know Carlo was a rookie. Carlo was a rookie last season, right? I know he played extended minutes in
Uh,
the
yeah. I think last year was technically Carlo's first year.
but well, first year probably playing extended minutes with the big team. But be that
Mm-hmm.
as it may, him and Queen and when Missy get back, they need those reps. They
Yes.
need the good reps, the bad reps, the indifferent reps. They need every rep they can get, defensively and offensively. And to your point, Carlo gives us the lob that Jackson Hayes gave us. So we replaced that, but we've replaced that. We've also added a skill element. We've also added an IQ element. We've also added a guy who can stretch the floor and spot up and shoot. We've also added
Mm-hmm.
a guy who even though he got put in the rim a couple times, who's a willing rim protector. He's
That
chasing
comes with the job.
on the glass. Same with Missy. So you brought Looney. I don't think you brought Looney in to start for the rest of the season. I do think that if 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 Eve was playing and Eve was healthy, I don't know that Looney would be starting. I think Missy
Mm-hmm.
would. Looney might be first off the bench and kind of like giving tutelage to Carlo and Queen, and then at some
Mm-hmm.
point Carlo and or Queen will overtake Looney down the end of the season. But coach is kind of like the players in that when it's not going a certain way, he always reverts back to the
He
bad habit.
default. He
Think
has a
about
default he sets to.
you're going back to Tony Snell and Garrett Temple days when
Mm-hmm.
thinking that the vets can fix it all. But I say like if we're gonna get smacked, let's let the young boys let's let them boys get these bumps and bruises. Let's let these
Mm-hmm.
dudes, because at least you can understand. Well, we get smacked because we playing these young boys heavy minutes, but you can't play vets heavy minutes and get smacked because like you're not developing anybody, and that's when your developmental ideas start coming into question. Like if we gonna lose, might well lose with the young dudes.
I
Um,
completely agree.
I, I I was on board with the Looney acquisition because I've I've thought about what he can do, as a passer, as a bit of a hub, especially
Mm-hmm.
knowing that Carlo and Missy will be playing. They can learn from him, and then the Queen acquisition. So I figured that we brought him on board so he can help with, because we got Greg Monroe on staff, and Greg has that
Yeah.
skill set as well. And my man played for LSU. God dang it, the assistant coach. Darnell Lazard.
Oh,
Darnell,
okay.
Darnell,
Yeah.
Darnell knows. So you got between Looney, Greg, and Darnell, you got guys who play the 4 or 5 spot who know how to operate like that to teach Carlo Queen and Missy. So I was on board with it, but I wasn't. I always thought like Looney would be like a 20 or 25 a night minute guy.
Yeah.
Matt,
Let me
I
let
think
me
he
ask
still
you
should
this.
be that. To be honest with you, even though we're losing,
Mhm.
we're not going to be in playoff contention. He still should be a 25 a night minute game, and this should go down as the season goes on.
Mhm. I don't have a problem with Looney. I don't have a problem with Looney playing and or getting minutes. I think, like you said, when he gets minutes to the detriment of
Of the
what it is
development.
you've seen, what it is, and especially what it is you've seen from the young players. Like it would be different if they were just playing and having stretches. You know what I mean? Queen, you're playing Queen full fourth quarters,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
running the offense through him as if okay, he's the key to us winning. If you're gonna play Derek Queen as if he's the one of the primary responsibilities with all of the injuries you have, then I think you need to make more of a concerted effort to involve him earlier and throughout the game.
I might have a theory. I might have a theory to that. I just thought about, and a part of it may where coach don't want to play 2 rookies straight out the gate, but
Mm-hmm.
also letting Derek Queen catch maybe the back end of the other team's starting rotation,
Uh-huh.
and kind of just I think more of it is probably to give Queen, kind of to let him, and I'm just spitballing, but maybe to let him kind of just absorb the feel of the game, absorb the
Mm-hmm.
feel of it, get him in on the back end of that first quarter, and get him some defense, like offensive reps against the other team's primary defensive guys, get them
Mm-hmm.
figured out, and then because now he's like you say, he's going against those same guys the whole fourth quarter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to figure out, like, I get it, and I want Queen to start. I want Queen to start also. I'm just trying to trying to get into a
The
coaching
offensive
space.
strategy, like what is the strategy of it?
Like, why would you not play? Why would you not start? I mean, it's the old saying goes, like, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes, and clearly we know who
Yeah.
finishes. So nobody naturally cares about him starting. They care that they're more impressed with the fact that he's putting together pretty good four quarters. My only thing is they just maybe they're just wanting them to. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
I'm trying to. I'm trying to strategize, bro, and I'm just making myself sound stupid because at the end of the day, you should be starting a young boy.
let me ask you this, because when I think about the strategy, like, because I try to think about this from a practical way of like what they could be thinking when they're making some of the lineup changes, some of the roster changes, especially based off what it is you've seen. So like this team, and you talked about it before, is not the most defensive team. And shout out to this comment. I think offense first lineup should be on the floor at all times. They're terrible at defense anyway. And ironically, the offense first lineups include our tallest players. It's a very good point. My thought is when they make certain lineup changes, I think you have Willie's core principles are being challenged by what it is that he has on the roster. Does that
Which
make
means
sense?
that no, which means that he's not. You can still, like, the very first Division I job I ever had was at my alma mater, right? And the
Mhm.
guy I worked for, he coached me my last 2 seasons there, and he had been in college as long as I've been alive. He had a playbook this thick, like a
Jeez.
phone book, and our players were struggling with the offense from that playbook. Halfway through the season, he was like, "Sip, I hate to do it, but these guys aren't getting it. I have to stop using this playbook. They just won't." This specific group was struggling
Mhm.
to understand his principles out this playbook. Whether I don't want to call them, they weren't dumb, but
Yeah. Every team is different.
yeah, and that's spot on.
Mhm.
And he said we can't continue to waste time drilling the same things in practice every day, because we're not getting any better going over the same stuff. He said, and he took the playbook and he didn't throw it in the trash, but he just like slammed it on the ground next to the trash and like, fellas, we got to do something different. I got to come up with something creative, so you guys just do some research. We got to come up with a certain type of motion that these kids can understand. And I say that to say, like, if that man, after 30 years of using that same playbook across Division twos and all the way to the Division I level, took it out, threw it out the window for the betterment of the team, then something about Coach Green not allowing him to do that says that he's a little stubborn in his evolution, I guess, as a coach. And he's trying to hold, like the comment said, the defense, which is what he used to hang his hat on, isn't there. But
Mhm.
we don't have that same defensive personnel anyway. So knowing
Exactly.
that you're losing Larry Nance, knowing that you're losing, JV, knowing that you're losing
Mhm.
Bi, big wing, who Bi is an adequate
B.I. was
defender.
a
He's not
solid defender. Yeah, he was a
not
solid
a bad.
defender.
Obviously, you're missing Najee. You get rid of Dyson, who is a premier defender. That's 5 rotation guys on the defensive side that you could depend on if they weren't stoppers. They were
Mhm.
really good on glass. You lost
And
that.
you minimize Jose in the midst of that because Jose can't do the things that he used to do
Exactly.
because, yeah.
So in saying that you have to lean. And I thought that let's just say we would have came back with that whole team from last season. I
Mhm.
still was of the belief that coach has to lean offensive. Period. You have
Yeah.
to lean offensive to get the most out of Trey. to get the most out of Hawk, to get the most out of BI, to get the most out of whoever was on the roster. He would have had to lean offensive to get this roster, try to finish top 10 in offense and maybe top 15 or 17 in defense, because that could still put you in playoff contention and in the running for a top 5 seed. But with losing all those guys we just named, you can't use the same defensive principles. You have to let a little bit of that go, and like what you said earlier, play to the strengths of your personnel. And that's what we're seeing, right? That's not what we're seeing from maybe him. Maybe somebody on the staff is saying like, yo, man, we need to be doing this. Or maybe somebody on the staff has said, yo, we can do this for Trey and Hawk. And he's like, well, I don't do that because I believe in this. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's time to just like kind of just temper those expectations, or find something else to lean into that'll benefit the group.
That's the square peg round hole kind of theory. You know what I mean? Every team you have to mold and you have to shape based on what it is that they do and what it is they have. So like, in my opinion, this particular team coming into the season, we knew they had to play fast. Yep. And we saw Jeremiah Fears, for example, and now we'll start transitioning into the rookies. We saw Jeremiah Fears start off coming off the bench and being able to be I don't want to say extremely successful, but I guess you could call it extremely successful for, you know what I mean? He looked really good coming off the bench, change of pace, was still able to play significant minutes when you needed him, right? But at this point in his development, Jeremiah Fears is not a shooter. So when you take Jordan Poole out and insert him into the starting lineup, I think it hinders what he's capable of doing, and it hinders what the other players are capable of doing, because while he's a creator, he can get downhill, he can attack the rim. He's not spacing the floor for anybody. And that, I think that hinders your starting unit and your second unit. And in turn hindering Jeremiah Fears. So let's kind of go what you see from Fears, and his role and how it's shifted, and what do you think of his development?
I liked him coming out. I worried that with Oklahoma handing him the keys so soon and letting him just kind of do what he wanted offensively, that there would be a bit of a struggle with that. Playing next to Zion, playing next to Trey, playing next to some established guys who especially Z, needs the rock in their hands to be effective. Trey not so much, because he's a catch and shoot, spot up type guy. You can run him off some action, so he don't necessarily need the rock as much as Zion, but he does have his moments where you need to let him dance a little bit. And then and also Jordan Poole is a guy who needs the rock in his hands. So I worry how he would take not being able to operate with the ball in his hands. But Z being out and then Poole going to the bench allows him to function a little bit how he did at Oklahoma. What I'm surprised by is the kind of pace he played with in the pick and roll. Because if I was him and his team, I would pull up every Chris Paul clip, pick and roll clip from his days from here all the way to LA. And I said LA, he was still a pretty good athlete. He was a real good athlete. But he still had that mix of manipulating the defense, and not just manipulating the on-ball defender and the big and the ball screen, but like, telling certain guys to go through so certain guys can be the low man because he can't challenge at the rim. Or moving certain pieces, like moving the chess piece around. Chris Paul has always been really good at doing that. And by the way, when he went against the premier point guards in the league, he usually, I don't want to say, a lot of times
he dominated matchups. Yeah, he dominated a lot of matchups.
Tony Parker had some battles. Darren Wood, like he won those matchups. So he could win his own personal matchup and go get you 33 points efficiently, or he can play the Steve Nash game and get you 19 points with 17 assists. And like Tyson Chandler got a contract obviously because he was a hell of a defender, but
Crescent City connection.
They found lanes because of playing next to Chris Paul. And then of course he was a good voice on the court. So Fears has to add those elements. And he's young enough, he's soaking enough of it in to where I think I like the move that we made, getting him in the start lineup and putting Rock in his hands so he can just again take those bumps and bruises right now.
Mhm.
Because he'll have some film to go into the offseason with to break down and work on some of those mental things. Obviously, continue to get that jump shot right. Health
Mhm.
matters also. Uh, his finishing ability is ridiculous with the left hand and the right hand. So
Yeah.
with him, it's just gonna be it's gonna be really just learning how to play chess at the point guard spot and knowing when to go, knowing who to get the rock to, solidifying his decision making in time and situation, thinking like same with thinking 2 passes ahead, think 2 or 3
Mhm.
possessions ahead. Somebody said
Yeah.
Paul told him like most people go through 2 for 1, but I forgot who said like Chris Paul told him about going 3 for 2. Like I didn't even
Mhm.
know people went 3 for 2, but that's what league guards and guys like that think about.
Let me ask this question. Because you mentioned obviously Jordan Poole going to the bench is a it's a impactful thing and it directly impacts Jeremiah Fizz. One question: do you think him and Jordan Poole could start and play next to each other? And also, do you think like I know you said you like them putting Jeremiah Fizz in the starting lineup. Do you think Jeremiah Fizz being in the starting lineup is like we're losing anyway, whatever? Like, let's go ahead and make the development move, or do you think it was really like I think we're better with Jeremiah Fizz as the starting point?
No, I think it was probably a little bit of let's see what the young boy has because it's a little bit clunky, and the young boy wanted to probably exceeding expectations of some
Mm-hmm.
people. And they're like, "Nah, we got to keep him in there." And I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that we come to the same realization with Queen, where like, damn, he better than we anticipated. He ready to
Mm-hmm.
he ready to start. But to answer the question, I just think that there was a lot of, and even when Zion come back, there was a lot of over dribbling between Poole and Zion. A lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when Zion comes back, you could probably have a conversation with the rookie a little bit easier about getting off the rock rather than having a conversation with Poole. Because think about it, Poole got a championship, and I know he played in Washington last season, but Poole was an important piece for 16 victories in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
That's nothing to be sniffed at. Like we
Yeah.
can't we can't let what he did in Washington blur those lines, right? So it's a little bit easier of a conversation to have with the rookie about getting off the rock than it is with Poole about getting off the rock and bending knee to Zion, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You can tell Poole like, all right, well, when you go with the second unit, bro, you might have, you're not gonna have much of Zion, you're gonna have a little bit of trade, but you get to rock out with the second unit. That might be a little bit easier of a pill to swallow, a conversation to have with those two guys, which is why that may have played into why they made that change. Why they made that change in the starting lineup. Just because you're not gonna hurt a rookie's feelings, but you'll hurt a former champion's feelings for sure. Who's still in his prime, who like entering his
Mm-hmm.
prime, and he had a hell of a season scoring the ball last season. So we
Absolutely.
can tap into that with that second unit.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and address this. This is a really good question. Coach Sip, can you talk on having consistent weak side movement and action to get our other players involved? I think Hawkins could perform better if he was included in secondary actions. You can go ahead and address that. My only thought about Hawkins is man, Hawkins' confidence looks shot, looks shook.
Yeah, dude.
He
Yeah,
looks
dude. Yes.
he looks a little
He
broken,
gets
but
it on deep. Well, he never really was a great defender anyway. But that's the thing with shooters, man. When a lot of what they do is a lot of their performance is influenced by whether they're making or missing shots or
mhm,
getting up their attempts. A lot of guys like they don't care if they miss a shot as long as they get their attempts up. Some guys,
that's crazy.
they come and go as they make shots. We've seen it from
Mm,
Trey. Hell, sometime this season we've seen it from Trey.
yeah.
But to answer that question, two things. I do know play structure. We do need off ball action. It can't just be exchanges because exchanges can get switched so easy. So if you have a weak side action where it's Trey and Hawk exchanging, they're just gonna switch that, and you didn't do anything. You didn't if you exchange on the weak side to get a certain guy at the low spot, then if you exchange that guy's not gonna get to a low spot if they just switching it. If you screen, they just don't switch it. So sometimes guys just, I do know, like for instance, Herb has good spatial awareness. He can process the court when he don't have the ball in his hands, which means that he knows when and where to cut. If I turn my head, Herb sees me turn my head, he's cutting as soon as I turn my head. Hawks got to do better at that. So does Trey, to be honest with you, especially when you are playing with Derek Queen. Period. When you are playing on the floor with him, everybody is a threat to score it when he got the ball in his hands. Which people ought to want. Like if I come to screen for you, Al, and the Queen's got the ball at the top, and I come to screen for you, and I'm hearing switch that. Well, I'm not screening for you. I'm cutting right in front of your face because I know Derek Queen. Like, but no coach had to tell me to do that. That's just me knowing the coverage, knowing that the basket's open because there's no help, and knowing that the guy who got the ball in his hands, if he sees me open, he's gonna pass it.
He's gonna throw it. Yep.
Period. So some weak side movements and actions come from play scripting, but a lot of guys in the league who are good cutters do it naturally. It's just one of those. It's like screening. If you want to screen, you're gonna screen pretty good. If you want to get an easy basket, think about Herb, think about Jose, think about Carlo, where he know he's gonna get a lot. Think about how fast he runs to the basket.
Run the floor, yeah.
Look how big Missy and Carlo eyes get when they run it, when they screen and there's a tiny person low or there's nobody low at the rim, they sprint to the rim because they know Fierce is gonna see me. They know Trey's gonna see me. They know Poole's gonna see me, and I just gotta
assist for them.
Plain and simple. Hell, even the transition dunk Carlo got in the Suns game when Trey just dished it off. Carlo saw nobody at the paint, cut hard. And weak side actions and weak side movements is just that. Knowing coverages, knowing cutting lanes, processing the floor. Like, don't just look at the ball and what the ball is doing. Look at the paint and see how your guys are guarding you. See who's helping. If hypothetically, if Queen's got the ball at the top of the key and Trey and Zion are in some kind of two-man action on the other side, well, the defense is going to be tight on those guys because you got your two best players in some action. So if I cut to the basket, then there's no help. So Queen may do this, fake that way, get them two guys to play tight, and if I cut, I got a layup. That's just looking at the floor and realizing that who's on the other side, what they're doing, and what my guys are doing as far as defense goes.
So let me jump in right here if you don't mind. We talking. What's up, Kurt? First off, appreciate everybody for tapping into the show, man. We got Coach Sip on the show. Appreciate all y'all. Hit the like button. Obviously, subscribe if you haven't. We talking. The question was about weak side movement. So we talking offense. I got a question that I typically ask because when I watch this team, one of the things I think about the offense, you hear Willie talk about his principles of 0.5. Everything is 0.5, right? That's his core principle on offense, which to me, it makes me think that the offense is very free. I sometimes say the offense is too free. I don't think there's hierarchy in the offense. That's how you see.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think you have hierarchy in the offense. That's how you see sometimes Herb takes shots that maybe Trey should be taking, or other players like just free to take shots when the ball needs to go, Zion, Trey, Poole, or Zion, Queen, fit, like however the offensive works. But the reason I bring that up is when I ask about when you were talking about the off-ball movement, and like, if you just know, then you should just do it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm not about to talk in circles for a second, but like I'm about to tie a bunch of stuff in, which is crazy. So if the offense is that free, which it seems like it is, right? Because we know there is no hierarchy, the 0.5 mentality, all of that. Weak side movement is basketball IQ. You see Derek Queen when he gets into the game, he's like directing traffic.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So the question I have is the lack of weeks, like, is Willie Green hypothetically sitting on the sideline like, you should be cutting, why aren't you cutting? I shouldn't have to tell you to cut.
There's probably a little bit of it because think of what he came from. He came from a place in Golden State where they didn't have to tell people to cut. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, even Jimmy Butler went from Miami to Golden State, and he went from high usage. I don't want to say high usage, but he was able to get
the
his
ball
touch
in his hands.
and play a little bit of his style in Miami to go to Golden State, and that thing is moving. The point five, in my opinion, is not like it's free basketball in the sense it's got to be free with a purpose.
Yes.
Right? It's got to be like, okay, you have to be able to process the floor before you catch it, because the only way you can make a split second or half a second decision is if you look at the floor and find out how other guys are being guarded and how you're being guarded. You have to look at the floor prior to you catching it. Like think about what a point five action is, Al. It's an extra pass. I see you over in the corner, and even though I may be open, you're more open. When I catch the rock immediately, I don't even look at the basket. Bam, bam. That's 0.5. That seems to be the only 0.5 play that the Pels make consistently. And even then, I see Sadiq Bey catch the ball in the corner instead of one more to trade. He took the shot. Now he hit it, but you see that you hear it now. It's like, oh boy, but he had Trey next to him wide open too.
Yeah.
So but that's the extent of the 0.5 style that you'll see from the Pels, because again, Queen can go 0.5 because he catches it. He immediately knows, like, if I catch it, man, go cut so I can get you the basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I think you can see the frustration of
move, man, go, I got you. And he passes it. But I go back to the Spurs of the mid 2000s, the 2010s, when they had their run with Timmy and Boris Diaw and stuff like that. We talk about hierarchy. Everybody on those teams knew that Tim Duncan was the man. But how many times did Boris Diaw act as a hub and moving the rock? How many times did Manu Ginobili go ISO? So what's more than the hierarchy is a situational thing. Like, when you need to tell the basket, get the ball to Zion, everybody get the hell out the way. Be ready to cut or be ready to shoot, period. Ball goes to him. Or we hit Trey hit a couple shots. Let's see if we can get some staggers for Trey. And because Trey drawing some defense, somebody else gets a layup. Work off Trey's shot making. But the 0.5, in my opinion, there's no hierarchy to the 0.5 unless you have you want to get some specific shot, period. But if you go with 0.5, then it's really just like, no, I need to go with the ball. So when I get it, I have a half a second to shoot it, deck it, and get to the cup or get off of it, period. But I can't know what to do if I don't know how the defense is being played, or if I catch and I just stand and look and trying to figure it out. You kind of just threw a monkey wrench and everything.
Well, that makes a very good point then, to be honest, because it would explain the confusion, right? Because there's times where the offense looks confused, where you're like, why is this person dribbling the ball when you know you should be, or when it appears you should be doing this? But again, if that's the principle and that's what's being taught, then it makes sense. A question it does is a question. Not a question, but like another thing you talked about your original your coach and how he had to throw away his playbook because it didn't fit for this particular team. I wonder, and I've mentioned this multiple times before, that like, I wonder if they didn't come up with a more sophisticated offense, respectfully, because these players don't have the IQ to consistently run it.
No, I mean, to think about what kind of player Fears is, what kind of player Zion is, what kind of player Poole is. Who else? I guess you could say Trey. Like, 4 out of your top 8 guys, at least 3 of them, especially your best player when he comes back healthy, they only know how to operate with the ball in their hands. The only kind of cuts that Zion will make is if it's scripted. Like, anytime if Zion cuts, is because he knows he's gonna get a lot. And ironically, think about who he played best with when it came to being scoring off the basketball.
Lonzo Ball.
There was no point, but the reason why Lonzo Ball is such a good player, because Lonzo Ball, why he operates with the ball in his hand. Lonzo has a 0.5 mentality. Why? Because Lonzo can process the basketball court. Lonzo, when the ball gets swung to Zion, he's just throwing a lob. Like when the ball gets swung to Lonzo, if Zion spins, Zion knows to spin because he knows he's about to get a lob from somebody.
Right.
Zion quick spun for a lob in God knows how long because he know ain't nobody
That's
gonna
very
throw it.
true. That's
Who's gonna
very
throw it?
true.
Like Lonzo was throwing this man half court lobs. Get the ball outlet, one dribble, throw it up. Get the ball swung to him, Zion cut, throw it up. Like it's one, like you can play 0.5 when you know the guy next to you will see you, will acknowledge how open you are. But until then, you got some guys that's high usage on ball guys that don't know anything more than I got to get mine, and I can't get mine without the ball in my hand.
Listen, I'm not trying to give Willie Green no passes, but the more we had a conversation, which I always said I thought it was player.
Anyway, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like I've defended Coach Green. I'm not gonna lie to you. And again, a lot of people, I'm biased because I used to do it professionally.
Yeah.
And I won't liken it to incompetence. I will, I have acknowledged that, he's a bit stubborn, and I have heard that he don't really listen to his assistants, which I don't think that you should be doing that. If you got assistants, they're there for a reason. Those guys have been in the trenches, so you got to acknowledge them. At least the offensive side. I know he has conversations with Collins because they talk defense a lot, but there needs to. I do think that he's run his course, and if he's been talking about 0.5 since before we had CJ, or since we got CJ. But BI is an on-ball guy. BI plays like he functions like a point forward.
Yeah.
And with Zion, functions at a point forward. CJ comes in, dribble, 20 points per game, 10 seasons in a row. He gets his off the dribble. You can't play 0.5 dudes like that. Them dudes don't know how to swing, catch and shoot, swing, catch and drive. They like swing. All right, everybody clear. I got to get mine.
Yeah.
So you got to do it out the window. That's when you need hierarchy basketball. When you have dudes who got to get theirs off the dribble, that's when you need a hierarchy. That's when you need, all right, first option, Zion's going to get the first couple touches. Everybody's got to be fine with that. Then you all just fall in line after that. But you can't do 0.5 and then do hierarchy. Like it's got to be either or. Because in order to do 0.5, guys got to be willing participants in sharing the basketball and moving without the basketball.
Let me ask you this: based on the roster, if everyone was completely healthy, shout out to you. I'm gonna ask this question, but ain't no playoffs, so we just gonna say hypothetically. Based on ain't no playoffs, so we just gonna say hypothetically. What would be your starting five if everybody was healthy on this roster right now?
Missy and Zion included, right?
Yeah.
I'm going Queen at the 4, Missy at the 5, first and foremost. Because I think I think they complement each other real well. Queen has been surprisingly good on defensive glass. To say he's not an above the rim guy. He's got long hands, long arms, and he does a good job of playing volleyball with the rock and secured it that he can push. So that gives you at the very least 4 ball handlers on the floor. And then you're still pretty good on the defensive glass. Zion, I worry about the lack of shooting, but at the end of the day, man, we gotta punch. You gotta get the rock to the rim, and I don't know that you'll have any kind of clunkiness because Zion and Queen both play on the perimeter. Can play on the perimeter.
This one says DeJounte is included as well. If you want to mention it,
I want DeJounte in there because of the situational basketball we talk about. I want DeJounte on the court making those decisions. We need a tough basket, ATO, late game, late clock, and then for that reason, I have Poole on the court because now I think DeJounte is a tough enough voice on the floor where guys, he'll when the ball gets outletted to DeJounte, you're not gonna have Poole, you're not gonna have Zion. Somebody with the ball in their hands that they trust is gonna get the rock.
You'll get it when I give it to you. Type of player.
He's not gonna dribble the ball and take a tough shot or a stupid shot, but he can go get his own if he need to. He's gonna get the ball to where it needs to go. So I go, and I can play DeJounte and Poole in the backcourt because DeJounte is a really good defender, and You still got Missy. You still got Missy covering up some stuff, and Zion's when he's locked in,
Yeah,
he's an adequate defender. I've seen
he's
him
been
guard
solid to
Kawhi.
start the season. Yeah,
And he's not gonna get picked. He's not gonna get picked on. If anybody gets picked on, it might be Poole. I can see like Poole's guy and whoever Queen's guard getting him in some pick and roll. But DeJounte on the back end, I didn't name Herb. Sorry, Herb. And I didn't name Trey. But I'd rather go big on the front line and go double big and have 4 guys who can handle the rock. We could get out and push. And for that reason, you don't need a bunch of 3-point shooting. You don't need a bunch of 3 points being sprayed because you're just gonna be in the paint, living at the rim.
You just dominate the rim. You're gonna dominate the rack.
Get it ahead, and I got Zion on transition. I may have Queen leading the break. I got DeJounte on transition. I got 4 guys who can get the rebound, and you just gotta pitch the ball ahead. Let somebody else create, and then go from there.
I've seen that's interesting. You chose that.
I might Trey being in there. Be honest with you,
because of the size and the shooting.
No, not the size issue. I'm just talking about the creativity issue. Because I do like Queen. I like Queen as a second playmaker from that forward spot because he's pulling the big away from the rim.
I think my ideal start lineup with DeJounte healthy would be Queen, Missy, Z, Poole, and Trey. To me, I'm torn about DeJounte because I'm torn about DeJounte and Poole because I do like the idea of having the guard being able to set the table. But if I play Queen and the way you can play through Queen, I think you can have Poole look similar to how he looked in Golden State. You'll be able to run a lot of the actions, the off-ball stuff like that, which would free up. And then Zion with his just natural gravity, you still got the live threat with Missy. And then I think it'll just free up Trey to do more of what he did in the earlier part of his career, like a lot of the catch and shoot. He won't have to stress as much.
Not to think as much.
Exactly. So it'll just be because he's getting a lot of his offense off of Queen right now, and this is without Zion on the floor and what Zion could look like playing off of Queen. So I am torn a little bit with the Poole and DeJounte, assuming DeJounte was normal DeJounte, but I know DeJounte to a degree has to have the ball in his hands, and I don't know if I want the ball in DeJounte's hands opposed to what I could get from Queen, who could get on, who could, have it and get off it. Zion, who could play off it. I don't want too many players that have to have the ball orchestrating as opposed to
you got to play hierarchy basketball with somebody with these lineups.
Yeah.
I do, you make a good point. You make a good point with DeJounte being on the rod, taking away from what makes Queen a little, what makes Queen special. But it works. It works in Denver with Jamal Murray and Jokic.
Yeah.
Jamal functions as a lead guard, and Jokic takes his breaks where he doesn't have to touch the rock. They make it work because everybody else knows how to cut and screen and move without the basketball. Yeah. A lot of the playmaking that you got to have a lot of unscripted stuff in your offense, which means you got to have high IQ guys, or you got to have a staff that like drills that stuff in their head to where you have your offense is unscripted within the rules or within the confines of what you may work on in preseason. Because anybody who goes to Denver, Aaron Gordon worked himself into a hell of a number three option.
Absolutely.
But think about when he's not on the back. He won a championship because he was a dunker spot guy with Jokic.
Yeah.
And he developed, his handle was developing behind the scenes. The jump shot was developing behind the scenes.
Yeah, he wasn't even a shooter when they won the championship like that yet.
Yeah, so he was a yin to Jokic's yang. They made that. That's why you got to have Queen next to Carlo or Queen next to Missy, because those two guys don't have to think. let Queen do all the thinking in the front court
Yeah.
offensively. And I just think DeJounte helps you out situationally. You know, if you get into a rut and you got to get something good, or you got to get somebody to basketball, you need somebody
Trust
who's
DeJounte to make the decision.
comfortable telling her, like, nah, you get over here, you get here, Zion, we coming to you, things of that nature.
I agree with that. Like that, I think while I might start with Poole, I might close with DeJounte. But that don't necessarily mean that Poole not on the floor, because I might choose Poole over Trey from what I done seen. You know what I mean? From what I done seen from the two. So
because they both can catch and shoot.
yeah.
But no, we left Herb out because we're all thinking offensively. We're thinking,
Yeah.
you know, we're thinking like if not putting Trey, making sure Trey's in there for shooting, running at the lineup where you got four guys who can handle it, and when we clean up the defensive glass, we out in transition, and Missy, you cleaning up the messes on offense. You just run at you a lane, man, and you know, play up top above the rim.
I agree. Let me we'll transition to this too. While we kind of been talking about the roster, we talked about Jeremiah Fizz, and we kind of talked about DQ in the midst of this. You know, his playmaking. He's been adequate defensively. We've seen him in one of the toughest matchups twice now. We've seen him against Wemby 2 times and not look. I think honestly, once you see him against Wemby 2 times, and both times, the first time he gave you 35 minutes, 14 points, and what was it, like 8 to 10 boards or something like that?
7 in the fourth quarter, something like that. Something crazy, impressive.
Yeah. So like once you've seen Queen in that situation, I think is pretty. I'm not saying he's still not a young player that's got growing, you know, got to go through some growth and stuff like that. But between seeing that, from what I've seen from Jeremiah Fizz, and I especially loved the fight that they showed against the Suns. They're getting blown out, and you know what I mean? They got the exchange with Dylan Brooks, the exchange with Dylan Brooks, and it's like, nah, dog, we ain't, them two specifically, we ain't going for it. Do you think we're at the point now with the season being what it is to where it's just kind of like you try to salvage it, or we just moving forward with the young people and everything else got to go?
I think, me personally, I think we're about 10% done with the season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of the belief that you probably need to start letting these young boys get a little bit more rope, and the closer to the All-Star break you get, start to transition away from the Willie Green era, if you will, the Zion era. I know. We know what Zion brings in this, that, and the third, but he's too unavailable. His lack of availability the points don't offset his lack of availability, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this real quick, because and not to cut you off, but part of why people say Zion is unavailable right now is the ongoing battle between him and Willie Green. So
that may be it.
But at the end of the day, you're still unavailable.
Yeah, you're still unavailable because you beefing with the head coach and it's costing your team games, and that's not fair to your teammates.
Very true.
They're not fair to your teammates at all. Like, because essentially you left them out to the wolves. Now in the process of that, we've gotten to see what we can get from. We've got to see good stuff from Carlo. We got to see good stuff from Queen. Enough good stuff to where we think like, we losing anyway. Let's play them young boys because we like what we seeing from them on the floor. But just me beefing with the coach don't have anything to do with my teammates. Plain and simple. And maybe it's just different because they pros and the check is gonna clear anyway. You know, me as a fan, that don't make me want to keep Zion on my team anymore. That because you beefing with the head coach, you'll say, "Well, the hell of my team is, I'm gonna be in street clothes and watch y'all out there." So, I want to know what combinations with Queen and Carlo look like, Missy and Carlo look like, Queen and Missy look like. I want to know what the young boy, I want to see Fizz's development. Because I know we got two good ones in those two guys, and then fit everybody else around as you wish, in my opinion. bring a young premier wing in, because now you got some guys where Queen is being called baby Jokic,
Yeah,
baby Uno, baby skilled big here, insert
yeah.
skilled here. But then I was listening to the Road Tripping Pod with Richard Jefferson,
Mm-hmm.
and they national podcasts are raving about Queen. People listen to that, dog. Like, what Wing? Why would Wing want to? Why would Wings not want to go play with a young boy like that?
I agree. Let me ask you this: if you were to move, let's say you were to move Z, right? What and you're talking about a wing, like go try and get a premier wing. And I'm not obviously this is off the cuff, but like what type of wing? Like what type of wing do you think would fit aside, Queen fears that would optimize or that they could optimize?
You need a
Um,
wing that's like Trey, like size like Trey, or similar, and build to not similar like Frank, but like long,
you
taller,
know who you know who it is?
athletic,
I just thought about it.
be a
Would you do
good
Ace?
guy or a really good athlete, really good defensive athlete who can shoot it. Shoot it honestly enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got to get somebody you put on the wing who can help get you stops, but can bend the hell out of the defense. Like can crack the shell of a defense.
Would you do Ace Bailey?
Really? Yeah, I'm all for the youth move. If I'm gonna lose, bro, if I'm gonna watch my team
Mm-hmm.
lose, it's gonna be because we're full of young dudes and they playing hard and we just taking L's. Not
Yeah,
because we get DNPs from young dudes who got max contracts.
yeah. I get that.
We've watched 5 years of that, bro. From Willie
That's a
Green's
great
first
point.
season, we've been watching a lot of that, dog. If I'm gonna
Yeah.
lose, it's gonna be from available rookies who don't know nothing about the game and they're just trying to get it figured out. And in year 3, we got some of that OKC guy.
Part of me is I absolutely with you with playing the rookies and stuff like that. What I would like to see is I would like to see the coach removed first to see what it is that you actually have.
Mm-hmm.
What it is that you actually have and how you can maximize, because I still haven't it's only what 10 games, 11 games, and we look god awful. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to just completely throw it all away 10 games in just because I think they're not responding to the coach that they
There's not
haven't
10 games
responded
in.
to in years.
It's 5 years in, 7 years
Well,
in.
which I agree, which is
Like,
why I'm
we got a big enough sample size of our max contract guy not being available. Whether it's because he beefing or just because he just can't stay healthy.
I agree. I also to that point, I think Willie should have been gone a couple years ago, so we could
Yeah,
have
yeah.
had my thought was
His roster should have
last
been
season.
like year before last or something like that.
Exactly. And at
Like,
this point, I'm including and this is just me. I know a lot of people don't want to include Trey and Herb into those Zion discussions as well, but I'm including Trey and Herb in
yeah, I
those
don't want to do that
discussions.
either. Them dudes have been professional. They've been showing up. But if anybody, I keep it be Herb, because
Really?
you need a pro. Herb is a pro. Herb
Mm-hmm.
is just gonna come in, do his job. You don't hear nothing about Herb behind the scenes complaining about this, complaining about touches, complaining about shots, complaining about code. Herb just come out and do what he needs to do, and he's good with his contract. Even though a lot of people say he's underpaid, and don't I think if you move Herb, it's only because you need defensive minded pieces around him
Mm-hmm.
to boost his value. Like think about when when we won 49 games and he was first team all defense. Defensively, we were really good that year. We were damn good that year.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you can put Herb's face on that and say like, yeah, Herb's the best defender in the league or one of the best top 5 defender in the league. But if you're gonna lean offensive, then that's not Herb's strong suit. Then yeah, you gotta go get what you can get for him.
Let me ask this. Here's a good question. Is there any change that the players can make to play winning basketball with Willie? This is up to IQ, but just anything you
Uh,
think they could do.
Nah, I just mean we talked about Trey.
Just no.
Yeah, we talked about Trey and his elevated role and becoming one of the key guys on the opposite team scout report. And I'll go ahead and attribute a lot of his struggles to that.
Mm-hmm.
Can Zion, if it is like if there any change players can play winning basketball with Willie, if Zion beefing with Willie, then you got to get rid of Willie. That's just what it is because you're not gonna pay Zion supermax and get rid of him unless he just doing something behind the scene that you just don't like and he just that toxic. The head coach is always the first to go. Then the players afterwards if it's just out. So to your point, now you a coaching change may bring about short-term excitement and short-term success, but you need more than short-term. You need more than short-term success to see what this roster gonna look like.
So
they're just gonna promote JB and he just gonna run what they currently running. He gonna need a full off season. I don't think JB is either. I think if you do, you got to make wholesale changes. And for better or for worse, JB is not the reason for the culture. But when you look at him, you can always think about Willie Green. What he said, well, he replaced Willie Green, or he was on the staff of Willie Green. He was a part of something that didn't work.
Yeah.
So you can't put new brakes on a bad vehicle.
Got to clean out everything.
Yeah.
Let me
bad.
Let me ask you this. There's a lot of, we're talking about the coaches. Obviously, Willie Green's on the high seat right now. I did a full episode mentioning some coaches that probably would be able to take over this job, take over this role. I'll throw a couple of names out to you and why I mentioned them. And see what you thought. I know you're really tapped in with like coaches and like philosophies and stuff like that. I am of the belief that how this process plays out is they fire Willie, they keep Borrego, give Borrego the rest of the season, or at least half the season, evaluate that, see how it looks, and then go in a different direction. If you keep Zion, I don't think Mike Malone would take this job. But the person I thought would possibly be the best for the job, if you kept Zion, Trey, Herb, all of those guys, would be Tom Thibodeau. Because I thought Tom was, and again, you could kind of go into this a little bit, but I thought Tom was a disciplinarian. He's been in places, built culture, one of the ultimate culture builders. He might not have been a head coach that won a championship, but you've seen him go take Chicago from nothing to
playoff runs. Yeah, deep playoff
exactly.
Runs,
yeah. And been a guy that can come in, establish, has a system, doesn't play the BS. Like, I think Tom would be an ideal guy for that particular role. I'm not too fond of, and not saying that Taylor Jenkins isn't a good coach, but I just don't think Taylor Jenkins' face would match what like we expect from a place like this. That's if you keep Zion. Say you move away from Z, right? Then the guy I think should or possibly would be the guy is Sam Cassell. I think point guard, Joe Dumars probably knows Sam relatively well. You got a new young guard and Jeremiah Fizz. I think if you're going to get away from Zion in that entire era, I think you just white pants, start fresh, and you bring in a new guy who can instill his own philosophies, his own thoughts.
Yeah, how Mark Baker did in OKC.
Exactly, and they grow together.
Yeah, and if you do get rid of Zion, you have to get, because Daigneault young enough to be kind of tapped in with the young people without like being a BFF, if that makes sense. Like they respect him, even though he's young and not, he's not like in his 40s, 50s, curmudgeon-y. He's young enough he's still at that age where the wrong group of young people can brush him off or just kind of like, brush him aside. And that hasn't happened. I think if you do keep Z, I want to bring Tibbs in, if for nothing else, Zion has to learn how to face the music. Period. You got to have somebody on the sideline that that obviously is respected, got a pretty good resume, but won't bend to the roster. Uh,
No.
I haven't read anything about outside of just like playing this guy too many minutes. I don't
Yeah.
think I remember anything from like his time with the Bulls to his time with the Knicks about players like not liking Thibodeau. And I could
It
be
seems
because I
like
was
everybody loved him to my
yeah.
degree, other than like you said, other than him running you into the ground. But
He might
we have a
he might be a little bristly with the front office and like don't this is my show. I'll run it. I don't need y'all coming out here and I mean hell he's got the resume. He can do that. Like
yeah.
nah, I've been in deep playoff runs. I got a title. Like I don't need y'all in here telling me what to do and telling me what to play. Um, I don't know that if you do give it to Zion, I think you can have Sam Cassell with or without Zion on the roster.
Okay.
I think
You think you could
because
start anew?
yeah, because Sam Cassell right now is still around young people, still around young rosters.
Mhm.
Um,
He's
he's
on the Boston bench right now, I
yeah,
think, with Joe Mazzulla.
one rings as an assistant, deep playoff as an assistant, one rings as a lead guard in the NBA. Going back to the Rockets. No, did he win? I know he won with the
He
Celtics as
did.
well. He was like a rotational guy as a player. Wasn't like
Mhm.
the main guy, but I've met Sam Cassell in Vegas. No, not in Vegas, in Orlando. When Summer League was still in Orlando,
Mhm.
he's a really good basketball mind. And
Okay.
I really hope that the person I met, talk X's and O's with. Same with JB Bickerstaff. That's why I'm a big fan of his. I got to hang with him in Vegas when my uncle worked for the Grizzlies. Good
Mhm.
basketball minds. I root for those dudes. Um, so
JB
I'm
Bickerstaff is paying off right now in
but
Detroit.
he
Looking
got
phenomenal.
he got them young dudes. He got them young dudes tapped in. Like that's a team that's a reflection of their coach. Because JB, I just seen him cut some guys out in practice in summer league.
Yeah.
It was
And you can
messing up the
tell
draw. I've seen him get after some guys and MF some lottery picks in a
and it
close
makes
like
sense why it didn't work in Cleveland with Mitch. Mitch is a star.
yeah.
You know what I
That's what I'm
mean? Like
saying. That's
I'm a
awesome.
max guy. I'm not having that Cade who hadn't won nothing trying to listen. I that's what I need.
And think what
I
kind of person
personally
Saul Thompson is, and what kind of person Jalen Durant. Them dudes is like, yeah,
dogs.
let's go in this bar and beat some people up.
Yeah,
All of these in the
absolutely.
bar will beat some people up, and that's the type of dude. That's the type of dude Bickerstaff is, and I think that's the type of person Cassell is. And I don't know that conversation with. That's why I said I hope the conversation I had with him about just scheme and X and O's in Orlando. I hope that will translate well as a head coach. Um, but I would rather go with kind of like I don't want to go with a young college guy. Like a lot of people say like
Mhm.
Todd goes for Florida. I don't want to do that. You need somebody that's not gonna come in and be nobody's BFF, but still be able to get your message across in a young person way. Kind of
Mhm.
like that,
Let-
like Dayton getting his message across to that young roster without being old, but you can tell that they
yeah.
still respect the position, even though he's not much older than them.
You know what? I think Sam Cassell also will work if you kept Z, and I didn't think about it. I didn't think about this aspect of it before because I'm just like you got to give him a fresh start. But I think you could keep Z and probably get a better version of Z because how Zion respects the OGs of the league. I think he
Yeah.
would look at Sam Cassell as one of the OGs of the league that really could give you game on how to do this effectively, as opposed to
Sam will have them OG players like a Garnett,
yeah,
with Zion,
yeah,
Wemby. You know, a lot of that depend on your staff, and
mm-hmm,
because I do know that Borrego was somebody that they gave to Willie, not that Willie wanted, I guess.
mm-hmm.
And that may be a reason why he don't really listen to him, which again that still don't make sense. But
Yeah.
a lot of that depend on your staff too. Is no head coach is successful without a good staff. You can't find me a successful head coach and find me a terrible staff. Period. Like
Yeah,
look at obviously Denver has Jokic, and if you got Jokic, you're gonna always be a playoff team. But they let go of of Malone and Adelman still got that thing going.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows you where he was as an assistant coach, as far as his basketball mind and still being able to keep that thing moving. As a new young head coach.
Absolutely. Do you have any if Willie Green is let go, did you have anybody that you would prefer to take this job, or somebody you think would be a guy that could guide this team into the future?
I think Sam Cassell is it. I think he'll get a lot out of Fears because he played the position. I think he'll let Fears and Queen rock out a little bit, because you still have to give those kids some autonomy. You got to let them breathe. You got to give them a relatively not long leash, but you got to give them some room to just mess up,
go fail,
but win a game or three, down the line and fix that foul. But I think Sam is enough. Like, he's from Baltimore, so he's gonna relate to Queen anyway. He's a Baltimore dude. He gonna win Queen over on that alone. Queen gonna have his ears on that alone. You still gonna get. I think he'll hold Zion accountable. He'll hold Trey accountable. I think he'll get those guys bought in. Because while Willie was a player. While Willie was a player, you can respect that he's a former player. Sam was a player, and he won. He won at the highest level.
And he was Sam wasn't a role player either. Like, he was
he had some good years
a starting caliber. Yeah.
He wasn't. And again, that's not to say Willie was a scrub, but to your point, like, it hit different when, like, oh yeah, man, I can relate to Al, man. He used to play. Like, damn, Al, you won a championship? Tell me what that was about.
Yeah.
It's one thing to learn from a journeyman, but it's another thing to learn from somebody. To learn from somebody who got to the mountaintop multiple times. At multiple teams, both like in the beginning of his career, and hell, he got that title with the Cavs at the back. I mean, the Celtics at the back end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just won one. Was he on the staff with Boston?
He was on the staff with Joe Mazzulla when they won. And if you bring anything from what they did, because while Boston shoots a lot of threes, right? They know how to manufacture their threes. You know what I mean? It's not like they're just out there accidentally getting them up. Like, the rotation, the scheme, the defense, everything is schemed in a way to where they can play that particular style every night, no matter who's out there.
Now, understand this though, Al. You don't assume that just because Sam comes from Boston, he's bringing a lot of Boston with him. Because
absolutely not.
He came from from Golden State, and we're not seeing a lot of Golden State. So we assume we talk 0.5, but we don't operate 0.5. And you may take some philosophies and stuff. You may take some philosophies from where you were. Rondo's a hell of a name. Rondo's a real good name. Rondo's a real good name.
I like Rondo. A lot of people.
Rondo's a real good name, dog. I don't know that he's ready to be a head coach. But Rondo.
I would love him on. I would love. Honestly, my ideal staff would be like
Rondo with him. Please believe that.
Exactly. So, like, my ideal job would be Sam, head, Rondo on the staff, like a Nate McMillan. Like a Nate McMillan that's like your tooth, baby.
JJ Redick's staff is really good, bro.
Yeah.
He's a basketball maniac. But when you look at his staff, he got some OGs on his staff that won games as head coaches and been through some stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, for all the credit JJ get, man, when you look on his bench, he got a hell of a crew with him.
Mm-hmm. I would look to. So I wouldn't mind hiring a bunch of players, but at the same time, that's what I'm saying. I want people that's been in coaching. Coaching is different than playing.
Yeah, you gotta want to coach. Like, Rondo wants to coach. You can't hire a player and be like, "Yo, come coach with me." Like, if Rondo's coaching chops, like, I forgot who said it, but they said Rondo's real good and is constantly watching film, like he wants to do it. That's the type of players you hire. Because that's somebody who will be a head coach at some point, whether it's in the NBA or at the college level. you need that on your staff.
I read not long ago that Rondo was making the rounds of like going through organizations, kind of seeing how things work and stuff like that.
I read the same thing. Yep, that's what I was talking
Yeah,
about. Like if you're making the rounds, just trying to just soaking it all in,
yeah.
you're getting that itch. That means you want to do it. And you want when he decided to like dive in, you need that on your staff because he's gonna be excited as hell to do it. And hell, he'd suit up and get in there and practice like him and Brewer. Him and Brewer would test some of these would lead some second year.
Absolutely.
He destroyed people.
That's it.
Him
Let
and
me ask
Brewer
this.
destroyed people.
Here's a good question too. Who in the Pelicans front office? Obviously, this comes down to Joe Dumars. That's I would imagine that's Joe Dumars'
I would say
job
Joe
at this
Dumars,
point.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, assess the qualification of the coaching prospects.
Joe D, you're not gonna leave it up to people above them because they clueless.
Yeah. Do you think he has the obviously, you know, we talked about the mandate and all of that, and then he said that that's not true. Do you believe, and we'll get ready to close and I'll get you out on this because if not, man, I enjoy our conversation. So you know what I mean? Yeah, we'll end up running it. Do you believe that Joe truly has, and somebody made the point was like Joe not coming here, like he probably had some instruction, but Joe not coming here to be pushed around by the Bensons. You know what I mean? Like I would imagine at some point he has the freedom to be like, this is the guy I want as the coach. This is the staff I want. Like I think for them to get him to come here, he should have the option at least for his first big spending to be whatever it is he wanted to be. I would imagine. Do you agree with that, or do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that Joe would take this. He worked in the front office. I don't know that he would take this job just be like, oh, I'm going back home to be the GM of the team that's close to like he got enough money where he can visit and stay over the summer if he wanted to, if he wanted to be back home. And then to take over I don't want to say train wreck because we did have some decent years during the Zion / Willie Green era. It wasn't
the train was moving up until the 21 win season. It was trending upwards.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, but I don't know that Joe would looked at this and like would Zion out like why would you want to take on that? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like why would you want to try to solve that? Unless you were given, like you said, unless you were given some, you know, some things were put in place to sweeten the pot a little bit. Because you think about this, when Willie Green got hired, Zion and BI were still on his roster. And nobody wanted the job. Willie Green was like whether it's because they didn't want to pay, whether it's because they want to deal with BI and Zion because what Van Gundy and Gentry said, whether it's because of the ring, whatever it was, Coach Green was the last option. Mm-hmm. So much so they interviewed him multiple times, and Jock Vine turned the job down. Yeah. So if you're Joe Dumars, what did they tell you to convince you to take this job where the stadium needs to be renovated? Your star player can't stay healthy. There's a good sacrifice to that.
Contract year coming up soon.
Yeah, so like what did they tell you, unless they say like, look, you know, if you want to make wholesale changes, you can do that. I think, like look, Gail, hey, this is why we need to get these guys out of here. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say that because I know some of them guys on that staff, and I don't want to see brothers lose jobs.
Absolutely.
It's a big reason why, you know, I am high on when it comes to, you know, speaking on coaches, because you don't want to see. But business is business. It is what it is. And how can you, like, Joe Dumars, if I was Joe Dumars, I'd be sending game film to Gail every day.
Yeah. I can't imagine
it. Zero Dark 30 when she wanted to drop the bomb on what you call it, on Balatin, and she kept how many days it's been since he had it's been 100 days since he had running on his window. Like Joe should be doing that. Like, it's another 30-point loss. And just chalking up how many 30-point losses on her door. Like, what we doing? And letting him do what he got to do.
So let's close with this. They got the game tonight, Portland in the Portland in the building.
That's
Huh?
gonna be that's gonna be tough because Portland good.
Portland, listen, Chauncey's out right now, right? That team to me, Chauncey had them looking okay
Yeah.
towards the end of last season. But who did Tiago? Is it Tiago Splitter that took over?
Yep.
Man, they look a little different to me since Tiago
How
became the
on
guy.
that roster stabilizes him a little bit. He gives him an adult in the
Okay.
room. He gives him an
Mm-hmm.
adult in the room. Jeremy Grant playing a little bit better now because he's not surrounded by the young guys, and he
Mm-hmm.
taking on a little bit of an OG role. He's still pretty good anyway. But I
Yeah,
like the
he's a pretty good player.
Kamara is good. That young
Yeah.
wing, he's the goods, man. So it's gonna be tough.
So tonight you think it's one of those, it's one of these 30 pointers. Man,
At the crib too.
we had so the last I was like, so part of my reason and it will end is because we're talking about the game. I guess I have you, that seemed like the prediction you going Portland. But
Yeah.
it's listen, I said we're not gonna win another game until Willie is fired. Like not against a good team. No quality team.
By then the season will be over with. So now you really start to think about what kind of moves you're gonna make for the All-Star break.
Absolutely. My thought was, think at home they had not played. God, like they hadn't played at home yet. How they played on the road. The closest thing was the Boston game, but even in the Boston game, you down 5 in the fourth quarter with 9 minutes left, and you let Boston go on a 29-2 run or whatever it was to just throw that one away. But other than that, they had been playing tough and competitive at home. And I think that's part of, like, people been booing in the entrances, but they ain't really been booing consistently throughout the game because we haven't been getting the destruction that's been on the road.
Now,
So
I need them fans to like if they. I read that Nico got fired because of how contentious it was in at the Mavs arena. Like ownership was not liking how they was booing as much, and like they really hate the move about. They really hate it. I mean, I get it. The only way you can get people to make changes is stop coming.
Yeah.
We don't have to prove we're a basketball city anymore. I think we've proved that we're a basketball city. Right now, they got to prove that they want to see a good product on the court. And the only way you do that is start hitting them people in their pockets.
So I mean, I know, and this is the thing. I know a lot of people are saying like, "Hey, you like not going is the answer." You know what I think is going? Was even worse if everybody showed up and just booed the entire like you get what I'm saying? Like because you could deal with quiet, like kind of out of sight, out of mind. But when you start getting national media being like, "Hey man, the Pelicans fans are there every night, sold out, booing, letting them have the entire time." Yeah,
that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, so like my thought is like, yeah, it's because the tickets are paid for, season tickets are paid for, all of that stuff. I've got my money regardless to a degree, right? But if you show up and you got Fire Willie signs, bro, they was in front Mavs Arena protesting with signs. If everywhere you look is Fire Willie and Gail, because Gail come to some of these games, Joe Dumars at these games. If you there and all throughout the game is just Fire Willie chants, there's absolutely no way that like they would subject him and them to consistent like to that consistently. I think, and Nico got thrown under the bus. Like I don't think it was Nico. Nico got thrown under the bus, so it was unfair what happened there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, he absolutely got screwed in that situation. Willie Green is is very different from Nico. So man, with that being said, Mike Sip, I appreciate you for being on the show, man. You always awesome, bro. Great knowledge, great perspective, great storyteller. You know what I mean? I really appreciate you for tapping in, and all of the people that joined. I hope y'all enjoyed the show as well. Appreciate you, man. Great pod. We absolutely gonna have you on more throughout the season. Be looking out for those episodes for everybody. you want y'all? How's everything going with the coaching, man? With
I don't coach no more, man. I just cover games for this company called Rise Hoops out here. High
okay,
school season back in swing now, so some of the content will get back cranking here in like another week or two as I start getting out to these games and scouting these players and getting
okay.
video content going. And it'll be basically from mid-November all the way to summertime. We'll go straight from high school season covering games all the way to AAU travel ball. So
That's
I
what's
found
up.
my lane doing that. I like doing that a lot though. It just kind of
Well,
helps you scratch that itch.
I know what we have another month similar like the first month. Everybody gonna be traded. People talking about not being able to get back into the first round. Those dudes gonna get back into the first round if this team is
Absolutely.
So we'll be having you on the show to talk about draft prospects and
Absolutely.
who you
Absolutely.
like, and we'll be able to get that out, man. But for everybody, that's Coach Ship. There we go, man. Hey,
Sound effects. What I'm talking about.
what I'm talking about, man. We're trying to grow a little bit. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. For Pels in the Blender, I'm A. Davis. That's Coach Ship. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy y'all night. Enjoy y'all weekend. If I see y'all at the game, bring your booze. Be safe. Peace.